Okay, we're going to discuss sales cycles. Sales cycles in particular are part of the sales process overall. What I have listed here on this timeline is the sales process. Remember, that starts with market research, goes through prospecting, showing your product, marching through the process of getting a customer to buy the product, then closing the customer, then handing that off to your production team or delivery or shipping team. Remember, this is going to be slightly different for every business, but if we talk about it in basics, that's the process. So when someone starts talking about sales cycle, they're talking about something slightly different. Traditionally, sales cycle refers to the beginning of the discussion or contact with a customer, and that starts during the prospecting phase. You can do a lot of marketing research before you ever talk to a customer. But the first time you make contact with that customer and explain your product, all the way through the signing of the contract. That's what is referred to as the sales cycle, and that's a function of time. People are always going to refer to this series of steps involved in closing a deal, and how long does it take? It's always discussed as a function of time. So when someone says, what's your sales cycle? You're not going to think to yourself, oh, I spent 3 months thinking about who to sell it to, then I talked to a guy, and he really quickly agreed to buy it, but then it took me forever to deliver the product. That's not what they're asking. They're asking how long from when you first talked to the person to the moment they bought it. Now, that can range from literally a matter of minutes with internet companies, where you're making a quick decision, say iTunes, to, for an enterprise sale, it's not uncommon for big complex pieces of software to take 2 years. So the sales cycle will be a big variable that you'll discuss in your sales process. Basically, sales cycles, there's a couple of things you're going to talk about. First of all, it starts with the initial customer contact. We talked about that, and ends with a contract. So remember, this subset is the subset we're referring to. Also, it's the average time that it takes, not the fastest. So if you have 20 clients that take a month and 15 clients that take 2 weeks, you're going to be somewhere in the 3-week to a month range. You're not going to, when someone says, what's your sales cycle, you don't want to say the fastest I ever closed a deal is XYZ, because that's misleading. You want to talk about that as an average. Also, you're going to split your sales cycle into sections. This is going to be broken up into various sections, and that's what actually will create your pipeline. Now, there's a whole other series of videos on pipelines, but your pipeline is essentially tracking where companies are along that sales cycle. So you should be able to always look at your pipeline and have a little picture of your sales cycle, and you'll be able to look at each individual client and know how far along they are on that sales cycle. Also, you're constantly trying to shorten it. That's what your management will be doing, or your sales manager or VP. They'll be thinking, how can we sell more of these faster? How can we shorten that sales cycle? All right, so let's look at some variables here that we talk about in terms of the sales cycle. These are things that might affect the length of your sales cycle. First, there's time to schedule a demo or time to show your product. How long does it take for you, after the customer express interest, for you to actually show them the product via the internet, in person, however that might relate to your company? That may take a while. Budget cycles. How often do they budget? Because sometimes they can't make a decision or allocate new money to make a purchase unless they have a new budget cycle. So that can hold you up. Business cycles. Do they do a ton of business around Christmas time where they're not going to be able to pay attention to you for 2-3 months because things are too busy? Do they only buy things in the spring or in the summer, like a school? Those business cycles can affect your sales cycle. Pricing and pay structure. Is it super expensive? Generally, those decisions are considered for longer. Do I have to pay you all up front, or can I pay you over time? Sometimes how I pay you will affect your sales cycle, the length of your sales cycle. Total cost of ownership. I may pay you $100 for the product, but what's the total cost to me? Do I have to hire a new employee to manage it? Do I have to buy a bunch of other products to work in conjunction with it? Total cost of ownership can affect that. Sales response time. I may express interest. How fast can your sales guys get back to me? How fast can you actually complete the sale? The type of sale. Is it an educational sale? Do you have to convince me this is good for my business, or can you, or do I already know what it is and it's a relatively quick decision? And then the decision-making unit. How many people have to be involved with this decision? Is it a single person that controls the budget and can do it quickly, or is it a huge group of people that I have to get permission from 7 or 8 people? Those are variables that can affect how fast or slowly your sales cycle can go. So let's look at some good outcomes and bad outcomes. So in a perfect world, your sales cycle is going to be really slow. Time to schedule a demo, I can schedule a demo on the internet in an hour. Budget cycles, I don't care, it doesn't matter. I don't have a budget cycle. A business cycle, I don't have a business cycle either. I can make a decision whenever I want. Pricing or pay structure, it's cheap, it's not applicable here, that's not going to hold it up. Total cost of ownership, it's really small, it's just whatever price I pay you. Sales response time, my sales guys can get the sale done that day, really quickly. The type of sale, I already know what it is, you're replacing something I'm already using. And then the decision-making unit, it's just me, I have the budget, I don't need anyone's permission. That's sort of a perfect scenario where you could close a sale really quickly, maybe even in a single conversation. So let's look at the opposite. What would bad variables, a bad effect be that would change your sales cycle? So time to schedule a demo, it takes me a month to even get a hold of the guy and get him on the internet to do a demo. Budget cycles, I have an annual cycle. I may want to buy it today, but I can't buy it until next year. Business cycles, I have a Christmas-based retail business cycle. I'm busy for 4 months of the year, I can't even return a phone call because I'm selling 90% of my merchandise over Christmas time. Pricing or pay structure, hey, this is a really expensive, large product for me. It's going to take me a long time to make a decision. Total cost of ownership, yeah, I might buy your product, but I also have to buy a whole bunch of other things. Say I bought a boat, I have to buy a trailer and a truck to pull it. So that may slow up the response. You may not be able to get back to me for a month. You may have to educate me what this product is. And I may need to get permission from 6 people inside the enterprise instead of 1. So that's sort of the things that affect the sales cycle. Remember, when talking about sales cycle, it's a function of time, and it's only part of your overall sales process. And it's characterized by initial contact to contract close.